I almost missed the opportunity that led to my certificate from Cornell University, all because I was not in the mood. And that alone should tell you how God works.
Wake up, it's time to activate. Wake up, it's time to activate. You know there is more that God has in store. You've been so used to hiding and used to inviting the fear, guilt, and doubting that keeps you from thriving. But wake up, it's time to activate it. Wake up, it's time to activate it. Activate your destiny. Time to activate it.
Hey girl, hey, welcome to another episode of the Activate Your Destiny podcast. I am your host, Destiny Faith McCoy. This is the final episode of our Wall of Evidence series, us talking about the way that God has shown up in my own life for every piece of the puzzle that is behind me, my wall of evidence. And man, this last one, it's probably the icing on the cake because God has definitely shown me that how I feel does not deter away from my assignment. So if we go back to last year, so this is the most recent occurrence. Last year, I am trying to, now figure out some things. I've gotten caught in this homeschool box from me sharing my experience, sharing what I have learned, sharing my own thoughts. And now I'm like the homeschool mom, the homeschool go-to person. And I'm trying to figure out how I ended up in this box and how do I get out of it. I love my homeschool families. I love being able to help homeschool moms, but I knew that my assignment was bigger than just homeschooling. It was mom in general. And I was wrapping my head around understanding that, but also understanding that homeschooling was one of the avenues that God is using me, not the only part of my story. So I'm wrapping my head around that while hosting monthly homeschool meetups for some local families in our area. And I loved doing it. I loved being able to use my creativity to create these events, so to speak, these experiences for the families and for my kids as well. I'm trying to understand business as a whole. Like this is all really new to me. And I am what I would say going through a whole nother season of learning my identity right now. I do believe that we are constantly evolving. So we constantly have to relearn ourselves. I am building out this community for moms, which is now Mom School. And I'm just going through a lot. I was already like being stretched, trying to build what he gave me, and trying to understand and wrap my head around all of it. So my friend Aaliyah sends me a link for a webinar that was sent to her, right? And she's like, oh, Bank of America is doing this like webinar about, entrepreneurship for women. Maybe we should, But no, she said, I'm just sharing it. Because it was shared with me. And I'm like, okay. I added to my calendar because, yes, I am still trying to learn, what the heck I'm doing. She sends it to me, and the day comes, and it's just one of those days. Sometimes I have one of those days where I'm just like, this is a lot. I don't have the capacity to be everything to everybody. I'm, I guess, in a mood, right? But the mood doesn't last very long. At the most, it's going to be about a day. And then I bounce back and I'm back to doing what I need to do. But this particular day, it was one of those days. I'm exhausted and I don't have any capacity to sit here and listen to somebody talk. So I text her and I'm like, I'm not feeling it today. Hopefully there's a replay. And she goes, I don't know, maybe, even if you have to multitask, you should get on it anyway. Let's both just get on anyway and see what happens. So I'm like, bruh, okay. Fine. I'll play it while I'm doing whatever else I was supposed to be doing. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful for friends that are in tune with the Holy Spirit, and I'm grateful for friends that are covering you, because that is exactly why we're able to have this conversation today, because I was not getting on. So we get on, and it's Bank of America, and they're explaining this program that they have with Cornell University, and it's about them empowering and supporting, women entrepreneurs. And they're talking about this program that they have created to teach us, because apparently it is common for us not to have a clue what we're doing and not be as supported. So I'm listening and I'm like, oh, this program sounds pretty cool. And then they're like, well, the only way that you have access to apply for this program is through the link that we are sharing only during this live webinar. The only way you have access is by being in the room, attending this webinar. The webinar that I did not want to attend, the webinar that I was going to miss because I was in a mood. So they announced the program with Cornell, the Women's Entrepreneurship Program. They are telling us that there's an exclusive link, that there's no replay to this webinar at this time, and that the program is free. So now I'm listening. I'm like, wait a minute, what? Because this program sounds dope. It sounds exactly like what I need as I'm learning, but also it sounds like a way that I can support the moms that I'm trying to build this community for. Not only to homeschool, to help with homeschooling, not only to help with goals and life coaching, but do you mean I'll be able to know the ins and outs of being a female entrepreneur and not just living it? Like, I'm living it, but you're also going to support me in like understanding it from a business aspect, like education wise, like, okay. So it's funny because I get off the call and I'm like, that's stirring again. There's something there again. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But I feel like I'm supposed to do something with this. I talked to my husband and he's like, I mean, yeah, it makes sense. Cause I'm like, I would be insane to miss this opportunity. That's how I felt. And that's not like shade to anybody else that didn't do it, because maybe it just wasn't your time or your season. But in that moment, I felt like I would be insane not to take this opportunity. It's Cornell University. It's free. It's exactly in alignment with what I am trying to do, the atmosphere I'm trying to curate in my mom community. So of course I'm praying about it. I'm talking to my husband about it. I'm thinking about it. And the part that is also deterring me is I'm like, I don't actually have time to be in school again, though. Like I just said, I am trying to manage a homeschool community. I'm trying to figure out, my business. I'm trying to figure out all the things. I'm trying to also homeschool my kids. But the stirring was still there. And like we've talked about in every other episode of this series, I have learned that when God is doing something new, it usually does not feel like it's going to be convenient. The point is for us to rely solely on Him and His strength. So I'm like, okay, I can just apply. What's going to happen if I apply? They either accept me or they deny me. Let's, try the spirit. So I apply. I didn't know if I was going to get in, but all I know is that I needed to do something. I needed to move in some type of direction. So I apply, and then I get in. And as I'm still seeking God about it, because then I had to decide when, I am going to begin the classes, God tells me to keep it to myself. So even that friend that told me to get on the call, I couldn't tell her that I was taking the classes. My family outside of my household had no idea. My children knew and my husband knew, and that was it. God was very specific about me keeping it to myself. So the classes begin a couple months later. I am planning a massive homeschool field day. I'm trying to build a community. I am going through this whole identity shift, and I'm overwhelmed. I'm very overwhelmed. I start to feel all the things that are on my plate and the frustration because I couldn't share it with anybody. I couldn't say, give me a minute because, or I need help because. What I did start to do though was allow help. And I want to pause here and also say that I'm grateful because even though I was not allowed to say anything, God was sending people to help us. My mom would randomly send dinner. My mother-in-law would randomly send groceries. And it was always at the right it was always at the right time. It was always on a day where I was like, I don't know if I can keep doing this. I don't have it in me. I'm exhausted. It was on time every single time and they had no idea. So even in this, God was able to show me that he can provide, he can show up when we need him to. Every time I wanted to postpone, because with each different class in the program, you had the ability to postpone it if you couldn't continue at the time. And I wanted to every single time, like, I don't know, I need more time. And God just kept reminding me to hang in there, that I wasn't supposed to rely on my own capacity. So if we fast forward a couple of months, I somehow, by the grace of God Himself, only by the grace of God Himself, complete every assignment, every module, every discussion board, every question, every assignment, every class with 100%. Every single one. Not because I had it in me, not because I'm the smartest person in the world, but because I learned to give it back to Him. Every single time that God would show up by sending dinner, every time He would show up by giving me a break, every time He allowed me to stay up long enough to submit the assignment that was due by midnight, every single time He was building my faith. Every single time He was showing me how to put my trust in Him. And of course, my husband and my children were ecstatic when I finally told them that I was finished. But when I told my family, I remember my mom was doing my hair, and for once, everybody was at my parents' house. And I was like, okay, I have something to tell you guys. And they all came in the room, and I was nervous. Why? I don't know. But I remember telling them this whole story that I'm telling you guys. And then saying, after all of that, I have completed a certificate program in women's entrepreneurship at Cornell University online. And I'll never forget their faces. I'll never forget the reaction. I'll never forget my mom saying, why didn't you tell us so that we could help you? And me having to say, because God didn't want me to. But He still showed up every single time that you called, every time you sent help, you and other people, every single time you still were able to help. I just couldn't open my mouth because He wanted me to rely on Him. And I don't even know why I'm getting so emotional with this. I don't think I've fully sat with it before this conversation. But I wanted to point out a couple of things. For one, the community. You cannot do your assignment alone. Sometimes God will give you community that will say things like, no, I think you should still get on the call, or no, I think you should still go to that event. Sometimes He will have them do things for you and with you without you having to tell them what's going on. Sometimes they'll be praying without them knowing really what's going on. And then sometimes He'll isolate you on purpose. Sometimes He will separate you so that you can learn to depend solely on Him. Because I've learned that if He can sustain you in private, if you can learn to trust Him in private, you won't learn to question Him when He elevates you in public. I hope that this series has blessed you all, helped you remember that you too have a wall of evidence, that there are pieces in your life that God has orchestrated on purpose. Every, piece of paper is just a piece of paper. However, it's not. It's a story. It's a part of your story. Everything that you've gone through, that whether good or bad, has been a part of your story. And I pray that in me just sharing a little bit of mine has reminded you that you are fully equipped to do what God is asking you to do. So, as always, make sure you are subscribed because we have way more episodes coming. Maybe a few pop ins from some people, maybe. I definitely want to talk to you guys next week about the Mom School Live event and how God showed up in that too. And yeah, just stay tuned. Share this with someone who needs the reminder. The whole series, if you need to. Go back and catch up on the episodes. And I will see you guys next week.